Have you ever wondered why people ignore you when you're desperate, but suddenly admire you when you stop chasing them? Why does indifference attract more than neediness? Today, we will uncover the hidden laws of human nature and how mastering self-reliance makes you irresistibly powerful. This is not just psychology. This is Machiavellian wisdom, brutal, strategic, and real. In the arena of power, your greatest enemy is not your rival. It is your own need. The more you need someone, the less they need you. And in that imbalance, your downfall begins. People are drawn to strength, not necessarily physical strength, but emotional self-sufficiency, psychological resilience, the kind of silence that cannot be broken, and the kind of presence that never begs to be noticed. Neediness, on the other hand, carries a foul stench, one you might not detect in yourself, but the world does, and it reacts accordingly. The moment you project dependency on attention, on approval, on comfort, you signal to the world that you are incomplete. And here's the brutal truth. No one wants to carry your incompleteness. Even those who claim to love you will instinctively recoil from your desperation. Why? Because need feels like pressure, like weight. And humans, as self-interested creatures, are always looking for the path of least resistance. If you walk into a room needing validation, you've already surrendered power. You're no longer observing, you're chasing. You're no longer selecting, you're hoping to be chosen. And in this shift, something inside you dies, your autonomy. People may smile at you, they may say kind things, they may even offer temporary comfort. But behind the politeness lies calculation. They know what you need, and that gives them leverage. You've placed your dignity on the auction block, and they can take it or leave it. Consider this. Have you ever had a friend or a lover who became overly dependent on you? At first, you may have felt important, needed, respected, but over time, didn't it feel heavy? Didn't their constant emotional reliance begin to suffocate you, drain you, and make you want to pull away? This is human nature. We claim to want connection, but we secretly crave independence. And when someone threatens that independence, even with love, our instincts reject it. Now reverse the roles. When you are the one needing constant reassurance, when you're always seeking company to escape your loneliness, when your value is based on someone else's presence, you are no longer standing on your own ground. You are living in someone else's shadow, and no shadow can ever give you light. In Machiavelli's time, rulers who depended too much on allies were seen as weak, not because alliances are bad, but because reliance is dangerous. A prince who cannot stand alone is easily manipulated. Sooner or later, his allies become his masters, and this is no different today. In your personal life, in relationships, even in business, if you are the one who needs the deal more, the connection more, the friendship more, you are already negotiating from weakness. Need invites disrespect. It does not matter how noble your intention is. If you appear to be pleading, whether for time, attention, or validation, you will be categorized as replaceable. Because in this world, those who need nothing seem to have everything. You may think that by opening your heart fully, by showing vulnerability, you are building deeper bonds. But understand, bonds built on dependence are chains. And eventually, people try to escape chains. The worst part is, the more you depend on others, the more unstable your emotions become. Their silence hurts you. Their absence destroys your focus. Their disapproval wrecks your self-worth. This is not a connection. This is psychological slavery. And no one pities the slave. They pity themselves for having to deal with the burden. This is why the needy are often mocked, ignored, or ghosted. Not because they're bad people, but because they broadcast one unforgivable signal: I cannot survive without you. And survival is the minimum requirement of power. Even worse, when you openly declare your needs, people may pretend to help, but quietly begin planning how to control you. Dependence turns you into a tool, an asset, a favor owed. And in the wrong hands, that's all you'll ever be. You will never be loved for who you are, only for what you can provide in that moment of need. True respect comes not when you ask for it, but when others realize they cannot function without you. while you, on the other hand, remain entirely indifferent to their presence or absence. You must learn to observe this law in motion. Watch how quickly someone loses interest once they feel you need them too much. See how they respond when you chase versus when you pull back. You'll notice a pattern. The more you want them, the more they retreat. But when you no longer care, they come running. It's not magic, it's a strategy, a brutal algorithm of human interaction that never fails. In the game of power, dependence is not compassion, it is currency. And if you give it away too freely, you will always be broke. There is a strange and terrifying beauty in the person who needs nothing from anyone. They are unreadable, unpredictable, and for that reason, deeply powerful. When you detach yourself from the need to be wanted, noticed, or included, something shifts, not just inside you, but in the people around you. The world treats you differently. You're no longer seen as a participant in the same desperate game of validation. You become a mystery, and mystery breeds obsession. Most people broadcast their needs constantly, through their tone, their actions, their silence. They want to be accepted, praised, reassured, and everyone sees it. But when someone appears completely content in their solitude, completely satisfied without the presence of others, the reaction is always the same: suspicion, curiosity, and eventually admiration. People start to wonder, what does this person know that I don't? Why are they unaffected? Why don't they need the approval I'm addicted to? They become unsettled because your independence is a mirror showing them their own weakness. They can't control you. They can't predict you. And deep down, that threatens them. This is where power is born, not from arrogance, but from untouchability. You must understand, humans are territorial creatures. When someone becomes too independent, they feel like an invader, a sovereign body in a world of codependence. And that sovereignty is frightening, because someone who doesn't need anything cannot be manipulated. You cannot tempt them with attention. You cannot bribe them with comfort. You cannot blackmail them with silence. You cannot make them dance to the music everyone else obeys. And so you become dangerous. This is why people often gossip about the silent one. They call him cold, arrogant, detached, not because he's done anything wrong, but because he refuses to play the game. His refusal to seek validation offends those who live off it. But here's what they never say out loud: they are intrigued. Deeply intrigued, because your independence triggers their insecurity, but also their fascination. You become an unsolvable equation, and nothing attracts the human mind more than what it cannot define. There's a reason Machiavelli admired rulers who stood alone, who formed alliances not from need, but from advantage. These rulers didn't beg for support, they chose it. Their independence gave them freedom, and that freedom made them feared, respected, and desired all at once. The same principle applies to you. In conversation, speak less. Let others reveal their need to be heard. In relationships, remain calm when someone pulls away. Let them taste your absence instead of proving your presence. In friendship, be kind, but never too available. Let your time be earned, not assumed. Why? Because every act of independence increases your perceived value. Not just emotionally, but strategically. People will begin to associate your presence with something rare, something earned, something worth pursuing. And nothing creates stronger desire than something that seems just out of reach. You must notice how quickly people shift when they realize you don't need them. Their tone changes. Their behavior becomes more careful. They start watching their words. They start trying to prove their worth to you. Why? Because power has flipped. You no longer orbit their approval. They orbit yours. But be warned, this shift triggers both fascination and fear. Some will try to break your independence just to feel in control again. They'll test your silence, push your boundaries, pretend to walk away to see if you follow. Don't, that is exactly what they want. To pull you back into the field of dependence where they feel safe. Remain composed. Let their fear grow, let their imagination do the work for you. Power does not always require action. Sometimes your greatest move is stillness. Your refusal to react becomes the most unsettling force in the room. Because people expect you to chase. When you don't, they start chasing you, not out of love, but out of confusion. And confusion, when left unanswered, becomes obsession. This is the formula no one teaches. Don't increase your value by becoming louder. Increase it by becoming less available. Don't become more likable. Become more sovereign. The moment they realize you are complete without them, you become the one they can't forget. Independence, real independence, not fake detachment, not passive-aggressive silence, but true inner self-sufficiency is the sharpest weapon in psychological warfare. It creates admiration without effort, fear without threat, desire without offering, and once you master it, you'll notice that people who once overlooked you will now rearrange their lives just to be near you. They won't even understand why. They'll call it magnetism, presence, aura, but you'll know the truth. You simply stopped needing them. The closer they feel to you, the less they value you. The further you place yourself, the more they desire you. Power, like fire, burns brightest when it is not within reach. There is a quiet kind of dominance that doesn't shout or threaten. It simply creates space between you and the world, a space where people begin to wonder, question, obsessed, and in that space you gain control without ever raising your voice. This is the art of controlled distance, a Machiavellian tool sharper than a sword. Controlled distance is not isolation. It is not a cold detachment for the sake of appearing strong. It is a precise, deliberate balance between presence and absence. Enough visibility to remind people you exist. Enough invisibility to make them miss you. Most people give too much of themselves too quickly. In the hope of connection, they overexpose. In the hope of loyalty, they overinvest. They speak too often, reveal too much, stay too long, and in doing so, they kill the very thing they were hoping to create value. Because what is constantly accessible loses its meaning. It has become common. It becomes expected, and what is expected is never respected. But when you hold yourself back, just enough, you create scarcity. And scarcity creates tension. And that tension keeps people alert, emotional, and engaged. You must understand, emotional investment is not born from comfort, but from uncertainty. When people are too sure of you, they relax. When they are unsure of where they stand, they focus, they analyze, they pursue. Machiavelli knew this well. He advised princes never to make themselves too familiar with the public. Too close, and they lose mystique. Too distant, and they breed hatred. But in the perfect middle ground, calculated presence mixed with strategic absence, they become both loved and feared, a symbol, an idea, not just a person. In your own life, this principle applies to everything. In conversations, don't rush to respond. Let silence linger. Let them wonder what you're thinking. In relationships, don't always initiate. Let them feel the distance. Let them chase. In business, don't say yes too quickly. Delay. Make them value your agreement. Make them work for your time. This is not about playing games. It's about protecting your value from erosion. Because the moment someone thinks they've fully figured you out, you become a solved puzzle. Interesting once, then forgotten. But if you remain slightly out of reach, slightly unreadable, you awaken the primal hunger inside people, the need to close the gap, to earn your attention, to break your silence. They begin to revolve around you, not out of affection, but compulsion. You have given them something more powerful than connection. You've given them uncertainty, and uncertainty makes people restless. Restlessness makes people act. This is why those who are always available are treated like background noise. They are easy to reach, and so they are easy to ignore. But those who pull away at the right time, those who disappear before they're fully grasped, create emotional gravity. They draw people in like black holes. And not through noise, but through absence. Controlled distance also protects your emotional sovereignty. When you are too close to someone, mentally, emotionally, or socially, you begin to adopt their rhythm. Their chaos becomes your chaos, their weakness your burden. But when you maintain distance, you preserve clarity. You remain an observer, not a victim. You can see their actions without being blinded by their presence. You hold the upper ground, and remember, distance is not always physical. It is psychological. It is emotional. You could be in the same room with someone, but if your energy is calm, indifferent, and self-contained, you've already created the gap. That gap forces people to reach across it, to prove themselves, to engage you on your terms. But distance must be managed. Too much, and they will detach. Too little, and they will take you for granted. The power lies in knowing when to withdraw, and when to reappear, when to leave a message unanswered, and when to respond with sharp precision, when to show warmth, and when to go cold. This is not cruelty. It is a strategy. You're not hurting anyone. You are simply making your presence felt through the rarest currency in today's world: restraint. You don't need to speak louder. You don't need to be seen more. You need to be less accessible, more deliberate, and slightly out of reach. Because every time someone wonders about you, every time they replay your silence, every time they question their position with you, they are giving you power. Let them miss you, let them question you, let them feel your absence like a puzzle they can't solve. Because what people cannot reach, they cannot forget. And what they cannot forget, they begin to need it. What is everywhere is ignored. What is rare becomes sacred. Humans do not desire what they have, they desire what they can't quite touch. Desire is not logical. It does not follow fairness or kindness or even value. It follows scarcity. The fewer people have access to something, the more they crave it. Not because they truly understand its worth, but because their instincts associate rarity with importance. And you, if you are wise, will become rare. Look around you, the most available things are invisible. Water flows, air surrounds, noise fills every second. Yet no one notices, no one gives it a second thought. But remove those things for even a moment. Cut off the water, block the air, silence the room. And suddenly their importance explodes. Scarcity creates awareness, and awareness creates desire. This principle does not just apply to objects, it applies to people, and more than anything else, it applies to you. When you are always present, always responding, always available, people grow used to you. Not because you lack value, but because you offer it without limits. You give too much, too easily, and in the human psyche, that translates as low worth, not in truth, but in perception. And perception is the only reality people respond to. But the moment you step back, when you stop replying so quickly, when you stop showing up every time you're asked, when you let your presence be earned rather than assumed, everything shifts. People start to notice your absence. They begin to question your silence. They wonder where your energy went. Their mind begins to wander, and in that wandering, desire begins to grow. Scarcity activates the imagination, and the imagination is far more powerful than any words you could say or gesture you could offer. Because what is imagined is always more intense, more romantic, more dangerous than what is real. The less you say, the more they dream. The less you show, the more they hope. And in that silent hope, they build a version of you that is larger than life. This is why kings appeared in public only on special occasions. Why religious figures withdraw into solitude. Why luxury brands never go on sale. It's not about arrogance. It's about value preservation. They know that access decreases allure. And if you want to be desired, not just seen, you must follow the same law. Don't give everything. Don't explain everything. Don't make yourself a daily ritual in someone's life. Let them wonder what you're doing. Let them feel your absence like a puzzle they're not allowed to solve. The unknown is far more powerful than the familiar. Familiarity breeds ease, but mystery breeds obsession. And here's the truth most people never face. If people stop desiring you, it's not because you changed. It's because you became predictable. Predictable behavior creates emotional flatlines, no tension, no anticipation, no edge. But when someone doesn't know what you'll do next, when you disappear without warning, reappear without apology, give affection but never dependence, they become emotionally unsettled. And unsettled minds become invested minds. Scarcity doesn't mean silence forever. It means strategic rhythm. Show up and then vanish. Be warm, then indifferent. Offer depth, then let them feel the lack of it. This rhythm creates emotional contrast, and the mind remembers contrast more than it remembers consistency. That's why people fall for those who confuse them. The confusion creates engagement, and the engagement becomes an addiction. In romantic attraction, the same rule dominates. When someone is too available, too eager, too emotionally transparent, they are seen as safe. But safety kills spark. Scarcity, on the other hand, keeps the heart awake. It creates that slight discomfort that turns attention into focus, and focus into obsession. You don't win hearts by proving you care. You win hearts by becoming the one they can't quite capture. Apply this to your reputation. When you post less, speak less, show up less, your words become heavier, your silence becomes louder, your time becomes valuable. People don't chase what is free. They chase what they think they might lose. Be that. Be the one whose time feels expensive, whose attention feels rare, whose presence feels earned. Even in friendships, scarcity is power. Be kind but not over-involved. Help when needed, but don't be the one always waiting to help. Let people miss you. Let them initiate. Let them feel the gap. That gap is where your worth is felt. That gap is where your presence becomes a privilege. In a world where everyone is shouting, showing, sharing, do the opposite. Be the one who withholds, who vanishes, who returns without warning. You'll see how fast attention follows, not because you asked for it, but because you stopped offering it. And that's when they begin to want you, not just casually, but deeply. Because what they can't have, they can't stop thinking about. Power does not come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself. In a world full of noise, desperation, and dependence, be the one who walks alone without flinching. Be the one who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and doesn't crumble in the absence of others. Because the moment you no longer need them, they will all come to you. You now understand the truth most people spend their whole lives avoiding. Need is repellent. Detachment is magnetic. Constant presence breeds comfort, but controlled distance breeds obsession and desire. It belongs not to the most available, but to the most rare. Stop proving your worth. Stop explaining your value. Stop giving yourself away to those who didn't earn it. Your silence speaks more than your words ever could. Your absence creates more desire than your presence ever will. And when you rise on your own terms, when your soul becomes self-sufficient, when your heart no longer begs, people will feel your energy shift. And they won't know why, but they will want to be near it. To claim it, to chase it. They'll say you've changed, that something about you is different, and they'll be right. You finally understand the game. You no longer need anyone, and that is why everybody wants you.